This show is pretty cool. I mean, I love what we just had with Felipe. We have another guest today. I want to share this story with you guys because I had the pleasure of doing a story on these two brothers. We have one of them tonight here with us. Back when I was doing Urban Latino TV, publicists pitched me these Latino brothers who were developing video games, and I was like, "Hey, man, hell yeah, I want to meet these guys." Because how many of us know any Latinos developing any kind of video games? So I got to meet these guys back then, and 10, 15 years later, because it's been a minute. Streamline Studio is the company. Tonight we have Alexander Fernandez, the CEO of Streamline Studios. Please bring him on, Gustavo. I'd like to see my brother from another mother. What's going on?
Papa!
I don't hear him.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I was gonna say what up because I muted myself. Here we go. How you guys doing?
I can hear you, Papi. You good?
I was just throwing shit up there, you know what I mean? I figured it would just get through, being muted and all that. Casper, forever, been forever, dude.
I know, right?
How
That's
are you,
crazy.
man? Oh my god, man. I mean, I had hair when I was talking to you. Now I'm bald. As
I
shit.
know, Louis. I want to share some of the stories that when I met them, they were telling me their story, and of course, Alexander's going to chime in. But you had told me that when you first got into the video game stuff, you had done stuff like take apart Commodore 64s, to kind of learn the what make these things work, and you used to go to these conventions with your brother, and kind.
Absolutely. I mean, basically what it was is that we were homebrew. My mom basically, she saved for 9 months to buy us a computer in 1993. So basically it's 93. And I mean, you say there's almost no Latinos in video games. Like, let me tell you how many were in computers back in 93. So we were over there. Yeah, claro, cero. And so we were sitting there, and my mom comes home with this computer, and she's like, if you break it, you better fix it or I'll break you. And I'm like, oh shit. So, better get this going, and yeah. Nicaragua, man. That's what she is. She's straight up about things. So she's like, this is how it's going to be. So we basically learned how to take apart computers and put them back together. And through that process, that inspired us to learn how the software works. And then once you learn how the software works, you start playing games. And of course, games is a gateway drug to greater technology learning. And we just basically figured out how to hack apart software and then basically build our own games from it. So pure hobbyist, real nerdy stuff. And while we're doing this, we're watching like the indie revolution. So, Senor Guzman, my God, man, watching your films, man, watching you being like, you got to be kidding me. So, we're taking apart computers, and shit, you got to know when Boogie Nights came out, we were watching that shit over and over.
Baby.
I was 16 years old, man, and I'm like, holy shit, look at this. So I'll tell you, man, that was, those two things come together and basically said, I think video games is a career for us. We just got to try to figure out how to get into this industry. And, that was it. Taking apart computers and learning how to basically change programming. That's how we got in.
Now, tell us a little about some of the projects you guys worked on, because if my memory serves me right, you guys did something with James Bond 007 and some other games.
Correct. So in 2002, we got lucky that we ended up working on Nightfire, which was the James Bond game that EA was working on along with Gearbox Software. They called us up one day and said, hey, you guys want to work on Bond? And we're like, yeah, of course we want to work on James Bond. And so what ended up happening is we made all the cinematics. So if you guys know, when you look at games, they have these rendered sequences that look like little Pixar movies, right? And we would basically make those rendered cinematics. And at the time when they called us up, there was no Pierce Brosnan, right? He wasn't going to be in this game. So there was like some version of Pierce Brosnan meets Sean Connery meets some other dude. And you're like, wow, this is looking kind of strange. So while we're making this, they end up finally getting Pierce Brosnan to commit. And then that basically ends up having to replace all the characters that we had made. Now, because this is 2002, the technology behind this is super slow. So you got to imagine 6 months worth of work basically has to be scrubbed out again and put together. And what effectively was 4 months, man. So we're putting our asses like on it. So, but it teaches you, man. It's production, pure development, pure production. But that's how we started off. And then from there, Gears of War, Unreal Tournament, Street Fighter 5. We've worked on 400 games since we started in this.
You guys worked on the Avatar games, right?
Yeah, we worked. So on Avatar, what we did on that is we got a phone call one day, as in Hollywood, and I get this call saying, come down to the Avalon Hotel. So I'm thinking this is going to turn into some True Hollywood story. I'm like, why am I going, who calls me to the Avalon Hotel? What is this about? So we go down and they're like, hey, we got a deal going on with 20th Century Fox to put Coke Zero, right? You remember when Avatar came out? There was that entire commercial tie-in. And they're like, we need people who understand video games. We need people who understand basically modern technology to help us basically get this marketing thing going. And we started on that. And that was a crazy 4-month ride that just taught me a lot about basically what it takes to actually work in Hollywood, what I don't want to do in Hollywood, and then basically more importantly, basically certain areas you don't need to be in. And then at the same time, basically just delivering, marketing materials and, commercial AR, VR type of integration. So basically virtual reality, augmented reality, and then just working with major brands. So it was a really interesting situation to be in.
Very cool.
Louis looks. It just.
I just
No.
out of you guys.
I'm
You guys are
looking.
like, what?
I'm looking at Caspar because I'm letting him drive this. Pero I want to ask you a question, brother.
Yeah, man.
I want to ask you a question. So what is it? Well, so you travel all over the world, right?
Yeah. Well, up until COVID, my ass was on a plane every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived in Amsterdam for 11 years. I lived in Southeast Asia in the place, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, for 5 years, and I just barely came back. And generally, I'm everywhere, flying around and doing things. But then COVID grounded my ass, so here I am.
Yeah, so that's my question is like, how do you been dealing with this whole COVID situation?
That's actually a real good question. I mean, I'm lucky that I gotta come back. I just barely had just moved back to Las Vegas when COVID hit, and my mom's here. So basically, I've been away for almost 20 years. So coming home and having my mom here and having my kids here, my wife's here, it turned it into a really nice telenovela. It was really like, oh look, yeah, it's fantastic. At the same time, it's been hard from one thing that I still wake up at 4:30 in the morning thinking I got to catch a plane. That's probably the thing. Like I've been so used to.
You're so
flying.
programmed.
Yeah, it's programmed. Dude, I tell you, sometimes I just put on those noise canceling headphones and just close my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I almost hear the engine. But I'm just like, it's crazy because you get too used to it. And it's that rush and the thrill,
You're in the States right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas, man. I'm out here in Vegas. It finally got cool out.
Caspar, are you listening?
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Tuned out for a second.
I am so sorry.
I was gonna bring something up. I was gonna confirm because you know who also is in Vegas there.
It's your
right?
boy out here.
Oh my God!
I'm on Trop and Hualapai. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm right up here in Summerlin, dude. I'm like, I think we're in the same neighborhood. I'm right over here by the Red Rock, right by
look at that. See, we're neighbors. We got to hang out now.
Well, we'll go burn some shit down. Let's go do it. Well, actually, you know what?
Don't feel obligated.
You know what I love? I love that you hustled away to get onto an opening act. That was entrepreneurship right there. You're like, I need to get that job. I love that. You gotta hustle.
It's all fun. Well, thank you for that. But, you obviously being the most learned person on the line here, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your perspective in terms of everything happening with the society right now, man.
Okay, thank you, Gustavo.
Yeah, Gustavo. All right.
Thank you, Gustavo. Oh my God.
I actually like Gustavo to show us a couple of the clips because you have a new video game out there called Bacon Switch, right?
It launches today. Actually, funny enough, it's at midnight tonight. The game goes live on Nintendo Switch, so you can buy the game finally. But here
Bacon Switch. The buns are running amok.
Press play, Gustavo.
Hi, our technical director.
Press play.
Poor guy.
Okay. Anyway, so
the
listen.
technical director's not very technical. It turns out.
I know.
It's gonna launch. It's gonna launch tonight, people.
Yeah, it launches tonight at midnight. Basically worldwide. Funny thing, you can also get it in Spanish too. I mean, we localize in 8 languages. So English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Korean, Chinese, and Japanese.
So let me ask you, how did you guys come upon this concept?
The hashtag is get baked. I don't know, man. I mean, shit happens, man. I mean, I lived in Amsterdam for 11 years, man. I mean,
Oh, by
If
the
there's
way,
anywhere
Louis,
to get baked, it's definitely
I know,
by the way,
Amsterdam.
you know,
Jasmine, our friend Jasmine went and stood out there. Remember
it.
Jasmine Rodriguez? She stood out there
Yeah,
with Alexander and
Yeah,
Hector
she was out there. Yeah,
out in
Jasmine's
Amsterdam.
awesome. She's cool.
nice.
This
She's good
looks
people.
cool. So what's the concept behind the game?
So the entire concept is basically this. It's a what you call a couch co-op. So you basically play with your friends and basically you basically beat the crap out of the doughs that are there by combining them together, and then you sacrifice them to the gods, which are the ovens over there. So the entire concept here is that you have to work together as a team to traverse the map, solve puzzles that are happening, while at the same time combining the doughs together and either dipping them into different sauces or effectively avoiding these moldy spore looking things that basically attack them as well. And then by scoring points, you win. You earn stars by playing together. And really, this has been a theme in the games that we make as a studio, which is about teamwork. And it's really about coming together and playing together, because we're not antisocial people. We like to talk to people. So we think our games should bring people together and have a good time. And during this time right now of COVID, we know there's a lot of kids at home and a lot of families at home that need something to do. And we don't think you should just be blowing shit up. We think you should actually be doing something that actually teaches and helps people.
Thank
Cooperative.
you.
That's nice. I
Thank
like
you,
that.
Papa. Thank you.
Something cooperative.
Caspar, did you hear that, Caspar?
Wow. I don't blow things. The only thing I blow up is a toilet. Why are you acting like I'm out there? Right? He's like, Casper. I'm like the most non-violent individual here. And he's like, Casper, be mindful.
But you are on TMZ in the middle of a street fight, right? And
Oh my God. No, I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration for some of these characters? Because I'm going to keep it real. One of them looks like a sweaty ball. The other one's a dragon, you know. Who
Yeah,
came
so
up
we
with
got-
They look like candy to me, like desserts.
yeah, like they're like,
Like
yeah,
I
so
want to eat them.
yeah, they're basically, well, that's the thing. They're actually made of dough. It's puro pan, you know. It's
You know,
masa.
she doesn't know anything about cooking, Papi.
Well,
She thought they were rocks and pebbles.
Do you like bread? It's basically
Yes.
like this. Like, so
Hey.
it's basically bread, you know what I mean? The inspiration comes from the fact that, you know, when the game was first being designed, one of the engineers and designers put what looks like a baguette. It looked like this piece of bread. It looked like a loaf. And that just started to spur the design inspiration. We're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if those breads were alive? And what if those, when they combine them,
You see what happened?
it just goes.
That's definitely some
Dude.
Oh, yeah, Papa. So
design. I like it.
let me ask you. So,
Yeah, man.
like, you know, microdosing mushrooms and then the dough, right?
Well, you know, I would say one thing on this, like, you know, in the end of the day, you know, life's good. So, you know,
That's it, Papi. That's it. That's it.
I mean, I can't.
Maria Nieto has a question that
what's up?
I also wondered, which is baklava? Is that baklava
so
supposed to be baklava?
Yeah, so we do those play on the names, right? There's a lot of these kind of the hell do you call those things? Puns. That's what they are. So there's a lot of puns in it. So baklava, masaria, you know, like we do these different things here that basically help people relate to what it is, but at the same time, it's cute, right? So we want to basically make sure that, you know, everyone in the world eats some form of baked good, right? Every country has some type of dough.
Mhm.
Everyone has it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But when
yeah.
you want to appeal to the local market, you want to bring their heroes and you want to bring their food in because, you know, eating is what we do. So I want to eat and I want to play. I mean, that's the two things you want to do in life. And I want to be with my family or the people I love.
And
So,
smoke
you
out.
know,
You want to know something, bro? I like getting dressed for my guests. Mira, mira.
Oh Lord, here we go. Here we
I
go.
love New York, huh? I like that. Huh?
He got his own image on his shirt.
You know,
Self-promotion.
it's a shirt. Well, you know, you got to promote yourself these days, man. I mean, we're all content creators now. I mean, that's what it is, man.
It's true.
Yeah, well,
Point.
well, you know, just so you know, Casper is promoting the barbershop. He got a new haircut. Bacon Switch.
The Bacon Switch, man. Bacon Switch. It's Switch and on PC on Steam. So, you know, the one thing I would say on this, because you guys have a platform for basically bringing in all the Latinos from all over the place. We would love to get more Latinos in technology, more Latinos in video games, because honestly, I'll tell you something. It's one of those shift overs where getting into this industry, it just changes and opens the doors for everybody. And that's really one of the main things I would like to push here is that it is an open industry for anyone. And especially because Latinos buy so many video games, we need to be making video games. We need to be developing technology and getting out there. So this is also
how can we do that? How can we do that?
by first letting people know that it's possible. Because I mean, this is the thing. Like, I never met anyone like me. I'll tell you that right now. I'm like, I swim in a sea of everything that's not me. And then at the same time, I sat down and basically, when we met Caspar back in, it was 2005 when we met. Like, I was like, oh my God, there's a Latino with a television show that's not on Univision. I was like,
I know.
I was blown away. I'm like, wait, what? I'd never seen it. Like when I saw you on Boogie Nights, man, I was like, what? Like, no, I'll be honest with you, because you don't know unless you see it. And when you see it, then you're like, hey, I can do that too. So this is something that really comes back down to promoting the fact that getting into science, technology, engineering, art, and math, so STEAM, but, putting it together, that creates a total difference in terms of the lifestyle you can have and basically the upwards mobility that our people need to have. Because honestly, with COVID, I mean, honestly, let's be honest about this. 40 million people unemployed. How many of those do you think are Latino? How many? And this is the thing. So it's got to go into another place now. We need to find that other upwards ladder besides basically doing the things that, other people don't want to do. So, I mean, this is just another thing that I look at. And so it's, shows like this.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, because I've been advocating for more Latino productions, films, TV show directors,
exactly,
producers, writers, and stuff like that, because we go to watch movies in masses.
Yes,
we buy video games in masses. So in that sense, I agree with you 1,000%. I myself, and Jackie. I don't know, Jackie done some incredible writing. She done some incredible short films.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what Caspar does, but we're like really trying to promote.
Yo, why you always shitting on me, bro? Why you always shitting on me, bro?
He's a connector.
Caspar's gonna cry, indeed.
Well, but the thing is about this, there's an interesting thing. There's this thing called was it moveon.org? And basically these guys, they do all types of great stuff. And one day I was sitting in one of these, they were doing a fundraiser, and you guys know Van Jones, the guy that's
yes,
right? So we go to the side, we start talking about what's going on, and basically how more people of color, Latinos, blacks, should not just be the talent, but really should be the publisher, the owner of intellectual property, should be the people creating this, because that's the difference. It's not just about being the talent, it's about owning the copyright, owning the publisher, owning distribution,
ownership. Absolutely.
You got that. And you gotta imagine, it's like we're talking about this and I'm like, oh shit, that's actually making sense. And I start thinking about it, because in my industry, it's only IP. The value of these businesses come back down to things like the Street Fighter characters, the Final Fantasy characters, right? We know the Fortnite. We know that. You don't know that there's like 3,000 people working in these companies, but that's honestly where the value is. It's that intellectual property. So more of us coming in, trying to take our shot at making IPs, making games, making entertainment, and really connecting it together, because it is about the writing, it is about the acting, it is about the platform. All of this coming in and owning that's what makes the difference.
Absolutely.
You flip the script on that. So
absolutely. And I think too, having more people like you mentioned that you didn't have anyone like you to look towards, when you entered the industry. So having people like you for the younger generation to look towards and find mentors in you, that's so important.
Yeah, Jackie, you're not that old. Don't talk like you're old.
Hey, Gustavo, put up that question that Ralph was asking.
Yeah, do you use Unreal Engine for? Yes, we use Unreal for 98% of the games released is using Unreal. So Unreal is the engine that powers Fortnite. So all these, Fortnite, PUBG. I mean, that's Unreal right there. So, to the point of what you're saying about role models, I absolutely believe in role models. I think mentorship is key. We have to basically sit down and reach back and help people understand, like, really, here are the pitfalls. And, I am lucky on one thing. I learned to be stubborn because I got a mom that came from Nicaragua, immigrated here, hard ass, taught me what it is to work and, volar verga, because that's what it is. And that's how I stay, because you face this shit in this industry where it's relentless and you can't give up. So I don't know. It's like I have that because of her. I wish I have to give back, and that's what I try to do all the time. I mean, I make these I have these videos, vlogs that I do about how do you get into video games. I have this entire channel dedicated to how you do things because I want kids to learn. I
Very
want them to know
cool.
how. It's like it's free knowledge, man. It's like shit, I'm not a genius.
What's it?
Yeah, what's the channel?
So it's on YouTube. If you look up Starveup, StarveUp.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Channel right there. So you guys go there, take a look at it, and honestly, that's all about entrepreneurship, video games, and how to get into it. And also, I look and I interview people that are basically interesting people that have done something that they want to share. Because in the end, if you never hear about it, if no one has ever told you can do it, you're just gonna think, oh, I just buy. And I'm going to go, slave my ass somewhere else, never truly realizing that I can own the business. I can be the one that does it. And that entrepreneurship, that is so Latino. I mean, come on, we sell everything.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
It's
Everything. Yeah, no,
Yep.
man. I mean, when I was living in New York City, I used to go down, my office was right next to the Mexican consulate. There was a woman selling tamales, the best tamales I've ever had in my life. And she was hustling that shit. Started with un porra ahí, she's like selling it, running it, doing it. Next thing you know, she's got a fucking food truck. Come on,
yo, bro. Let me tell you. In my neighborhood, I used to buy anything from 5-gallon mayonnaise from the school that the Tecato broke into and stole it, or the cable box that already has a card, and you have the illegal box.
Shit happens, man. You know what I mean?
Hustling is real, bro.
I mean, that's why I love Washington Heights, man. You can always
Yeah.
I love the Heights, man. That's just like there you go, man. But guys, honestly, what you guys are doing is so important. And I'll be honest with you, because it's just something where going around the world and seeing how other countries build up their people. Like I live in Malaysia. I was there for 5 years, and Malaysia is an incredible melting pot. And you see how everyone is focused on growing up and helping themselves move forward and helping their community move forward. And it's inspirational to see that Chinese, Indian, Malay all building themselves up and growing and running the show. So when I come back over here and I'm like entering the land of Trump, and I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot about this. And it's like this. So this is also the other side of it, where it's like, we have, I'm not going to say that we're obligated, but at the same time, we have the opportunity. And I think this is something where we got to do something, because I'll be honest with you, I hate being the only one in a conference that is Latin, who's not pouring coffee, not cleaning the table, cleaning the bathroom. I can't stand it. And that's just one of those things that I see, and I see it every day. And it's like, it's not, don't cry for me, but it's just, come on, man. It's more than this shit. I mean, that's what I'm just trying to say. And that's why things like Bacon Switch, that's what it's about. It's about releasing it and basically putting it in the languages that people can understand, because everyone's got that dream, right? Everybody wants to be something.
That's right.
So, that's all I got to say on that, man. And
you're doing it.
Yeah, I just want you to know, man, you're really blowing me away, because it's like you are so grounded, brother. And it's one of my buddies, Eddie Garcia. His two grandkids, when you said the story about you and your brother taking those computers apart and putting them, these guys started doing this when they were like 12 years old recently.
Exactly. That's how it starts, dude.
And they put the shit back together, and they build their own computers now.
This is the thing, yeah. Take that right there. Check out the statistic. People who work in video games and technology, the minimum salary these people make is no more than $70,000 a year, and it goes up from there. And if you think about basically of the 40 million people who are laid off, the average salary was $30,000. $30,000 ain't enough to buy a computer, pay for rent. It ain't enough to do shit.
Right.
So if you think about this, the upwards mobility and the ability to get out of poverty, it all starts with what you know. And it's as simple as those kids taking apart those computers and basically teaching someone else how to do it. And it's a skill that a child can learn. That's what's crazy. It's not about being, I appreciate being called a learned person, but honestly, I have a high school diploma. And then I went to school.
Yeah, but that's just Gustavo kissing your ass.
No, but right, you know what I mean? I was like,
but there's also the fact that you were allowed to do that as a kid. There are kids who don't have parents that let them play and explore. And I feel like when a child finds something they're passionate about when they're a kid, they should be allowed to explore that, because a lot of times genius is seen in many different ways. It's not necessarily getting a college degree, and so you were allowed to explore. And I think that that's awesome.
Well, guys, I think I finally have something to add to the conversation.
No.
Alexander, would you then advocate for more screen time for kids rather than cut back on screen time? Because I know parents are like, no, too much screen time is going to fry your brain. Are you an advocate for more screen time for kids?
No, okay, let me be. Oh yeah, that's a very good question. So here's my thing about screen time. I think screen time utilized in the right area, sure. So if I see my kid basically watching like a U Academy or a YouTube video on how to do something practical, I'm fine with that. But if you're telling me more screen time just to sit there and play endless blow shit up, then no, because honestly, at one point in time, you need to connect your entertainment with your future. So I'm an advocate of drawing a link between what I entertain myself with to what I want to do as a profession. And to the point of basically about the freedom of being able to do what we wanted to do, it was really simple. My mom was smart. She's like, I don't want you to be a statistic. So I'm going to see what you love. Oh, you like video games? Boom, here's a Nintendo. Play here, stay in the house. Don't go outside. Don't get into trouble. So my aunt sold the Nintendo to my mother very simply this. It's the best babysitter you'll ever have. And that was how it started. 8 years old. That's where it started from. And this is that idea that if you see that that thing your child wants to do, yeah, you basically support it, and especially if you know that it can get them ahead, and
you nurture it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You got to nurture it. It's just it's easy to say, oh, this shit's not going to be worth anything. Well, how do we know? Like, I didn't know that video games is going to become a freaking $200 billion industry,
right?
I mean, shit. I mean,
no kidding.
No kidding. I mean, this is the numbers behind video games is ridiculous. And that's what's even crazier. The amount of money this industry is making is going to a few groups of people. And let me tell you who's not being a part of that. Nosotros.
Yeah.
Oh, bueno, I mean, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yo, let me tell you, I did Grand Theft Auto.
I did one of those too. They need so many people for those games.
I know. I did Liberty City, but just a couple of voices. Hey, cabrón, pendejo, get out my way.
I did a couple of those too.
Beginning, man.
No, so the crazy thing is like I asked them, so how much is this game going to cost to develop? And they said, oh, we're putting like $50-75 million into what? And then I go, yeah, but we make all that back in less than a day.
The same day, bro. The same day.
The same day. It was $1 billion.
Rockstar Games was killing it with those.
Bro.
But does that happen with the smaller, lesser known games too? Like, what's the return for the smaller games?
So here's the thing. So it's all like, we can get down. Let's get into straight up economics, right? If I'm making a game in New York City, that shit ain't cheap. Clearly, because people in New York, they need to eat. But if I'm making a game in Kuala Lumpur, or Latino America, Mexico, DF, the profit margins get huge because the cost to make them are less based upon where the people are living. So you can see some of these indie games, 2-people teams, 4-people teams, 10-person teams. I mean, they can pull down anywhere between basically 15 to 20 million on an investment of 250, 400,000.
Wow.
So this is where it's in puro crema. Right? If we really look at this, right?
Right.
We get over to this idea that like Grand Theft Auto, right? They may have spent, let's say 75-80 million to make the one you were in. They made $1 billion in one day. So let's just say that it was 80 million development, 80 million in marketing. They still made fucking profit and they killed it. So when we look towards basically the games industry, right now it's not uncommon for these AAA games, basically the games that sell PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. Well, let's say PlayStation and Xbox. Nintendo is not as expensive, but PlayStation and Xbox. Those games, for the big ones, it's not unheard of for these to cross over 100 million in development.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about massive production, and that's development. That's not marketing. So the return can be high, but the failure, well, I mean, it can be high as well. So they can't do too many of those. So if you think about it for the small developer, there was a Mexican developer that made a game called Cuphead that looks like a 1930s cartoon. And these guys, they made a game that basically, 6 years ago now, it's still selling. I mean, it's done over 1 million copies, easy over 1 million copies. And so you think about this for a team in Mexico. I mean, come on. 1 million copies of anything is going to be, even if it was $1 a copy, it's still $1 million. So, I mean, you're still rolling. So this is, again, something to think about and why it's so important for us to just understand the dynamics,
How does development work? Like, I don't know anything about video games. So what's the process? Is it like you write a game and then you hire people to make it, or?
So you can look at it like this. So like, let's say you guys are familiar with film and television. So you take a step back, right? So in generally what generally tends to happen is that some people create a game design document, a GDD, which basically explains the entire design of how a game is going to function. They break it down into the component pieces of like, okay, here's what this is how the game plays, this is how the game looks, this is how we're going to basically bring people in to monetize them. It's a very traditional way of doing it. Another way is you just make a demonstration. You take technology like Unreal, you start basically putting stuff together, you start trying to find fun, because remember, the key of a game is to find that one loop that makes you want to keep playing. So that's called the game mechanic. You're trying to find fun. Now, finding fun is hard, just like, making a joke funny is hard. It's like not all jokes are funny. The reality.
You heard that, Caspar? Did
I
you
know,
hear that?
I have to endure it every week with you, Louis. Yes, I heard it.
You gotta find that fun. But what ends up happening is basically they sit down and they start finding basically ways of putting that together. And then once it starts to build, it's like making a layered cake, right? You found the fun, you start designing the world, you start designing the art, and all the pieces start coming together. At first, you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? What is this? It looks nasty. But then at one point, you're like, oh, but it's fun, and then you just start to build on top of that. So we have basically the origination, you have a pre-production, production, post-production, shipping, and then from there we go into DLC and ongoing content that gets released. And honestly, like some games like Grand Theft Auto, like GTA 5 came out, I think, gotta be at least 3 years ago. They're pulling down money hand over fist every year because in the end of the day, I think it was like $100 million still, because they put online services into it. Because remember one thing, the thing that games can do when they go online is they can connect people. And what are you going to do in this time? You're going to want to speak to someone, play with someone, and games personify things.
I'm also seeing there with some other comments, Gustavo, if you can put them up, like the one with Ralph that says not to mention all add-ons to these games. They make tons of money with the add-on acids. Hector saying the same thing.
That's my brother right there, Cabron. What is he doing over there? Look at him.
He's chilling. What's up, Hector?
I know. He's in Japan. He's in Tokyo right now.
Loot boxes. What's a loot box?
Loot boxes are kind of like you don't know what's inside of the box, so you pay money for it, and then surprise, you might get something valuable or you might get a lump of coal.
That's awful.
Yeah, that is awful. At that point in time, it's a gotcha mechanic. You really that's when you see companies do that. You're like, come on, man. It's like, what are you doing to the kids?
That's when they get poor kids.
Somebody saying, dude, get that guy off.
That's his brother. That's his brother. Hey, Hector, if you got a camera, you can come on and log on and say, what's up, bro? We're here. Gustavo, send him a link.
So he's like isolating in Tokyo?
No, so my brother works for PlayStation. So he lives in Tokyo right now. So he's literally out there right now working. It's like what is the time right now? It's probably like about 9. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning for him right now. Just about, yeah. It's about 9 a.m. for him. So he's out there. I told him I was coming on here when I said, hey, take a look at this. I didn't tell him until like 30 minutes before. I'm like, take a look at this. And he's just like, what? I'm like, that's right.
So how long has he been out in Tokyo?
I think like 8 years.
Oh wow!
He's been out there for a bit. I think he's out there. He's gone all in, and basically, it's like, Japan's awesome, man. It's like I love going out to visit them. Going in between. And
oh man, I hear the food is great there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm dying to go.
The food, the drink, the people, the culture, the nightlife is like Japan is crazy, but in an awesome, fun way. So I would recommend for it, and especially like Latinos in Japan. Because we're already at this level, and Japan is at that level. It's just gonna be like, you come back, you'll be like, that song, "I'm Turning Japanese." It's like, yeah, straight up.
I hear that we're pretty exotic there. That one of my friends went to Japan and said, "Bro, you don't understand. There was like people that will come up to me. They just wanted to touch me. Touch me."
What a lot of people don't know is that in Brazil, there was like Brazil at the turn of like the 1900s, 1920s. They had a program with Japan where they did an exchange of like soybean farmers, right? So you'll be in Tokyo, like at a hotel, just chilling, doing your thing. And you'll look up and you'll be like, wow, what is this Latino over there? And then she'll turn around and it's Japanese features, Latina body. And you're like, oh my God. It's like these two worlds crossed together. And you're like, holy shit, I didn't even know this was possible. And a lot of people don't know that. Because it's just like, the mixing of Japan, it's already exotic. Then add us, it's exotic. It's like, it just kind of
doubly exotic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like double exotic. You sit there, you're like, very good. So it's a good time for everybody. You know what I mean? That's all I was. Yeah.
We know what you're doing when you go there.
No, I'm well behaved when I'm out there. I'm there to do my business, ensure that the world basically unites under, peace and harmony.
Let me ask you something. Okay. Well, what's this question? Speaking of ownership, how does he feel about the transition from a real game versus the data?
If I understand real game to the data. So do you mean from the standpoint of basically that it's the well, okay, I'm trying to understand that question, because if he means from the standpoint that basically it's more about it's more driven, like more of a how can I say, it's like free to play situation where you just keep playing it and then you pay to play.
Right.
I'm not so much about that. I myself, I like premium products. I like that type of thing. From the standpoint of basically a transition from a situation where I'm wearing goggles, like virtual reality, absolutely incredible. I think this is great. The immersive environment that we're getting and what you are all going to see, and this is probably one thing I want you to get you guys ready for. So there's an entire thing of digital transformation of industry. What is happening is basically all of what we know how to do in video games in terms of user interface, engagement, making a world that you believe in, is moving into other industries. Think like shopping, retail, think about like housing, to basically understand the world and present this new world to you. So, we all saw the Matrix saying like, oh my God, thank God I don't live inside of that world. That stuff comes to this world where we are actually going to be interfacing with things in our normal jobs just to be able to do things like, The Mandalorian is a great example of video game technology used to make a film, to make a TV show. That is happening nonstop. That's all video game technology. And again, that's actually Unreal Engine as well. So it's pretty wild.
And they're using augmented reality and VR also for mental health patients too, right?
Exactly. And this is the key thing, is that there's the ability to help and treat PTSD that's being done. It's using games,
which is incredible. Have you guys ever tried like the real virtual reality headsets? Like not the ones at home, but like the look. Those it's like you're there. It's insane how good they are.
Louis, when you were doing Journey to the Center of the Earth, I believe I went with you to where they had you with all the suit with the little dots.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was pretty awesome. But Mike, what I'm thinking is, when are we gonna do a video game? Because Louis ahorita wanted to do something with Felipe. When are we, like Jackie, Louis, me, doing some voices to video games with you, brother? Gustavo, shut the fuck up and get Hector online. Thank you. So anyway, when are we gonna do a video game, bro?
You guys should do a video game. I think the thing is, what it really is that it's personality, right? You personify characters.
Right.
You're already a character. I mean, for God's sakes, you guys are hilarious. I mean, backstage, I was laughing my ass off on this. Like, it's funny. So you just got to get yourself in there. Now, granted, I don't think you could be something that's like, G or PG.
Oh no, we could do little Louis and Friends, and do like a little cartoon video game where Louis and I go into the bodega, and then we meet up with Jackie, and then we try to get something fiat, but we need enough more points, and then we have to do an action. Yeah, exactly. You get the cat off the bread. You bump into the piragüero guy. You
have to negotiate the price.
That's actually good. Teach you life skills right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like have the side hustle, make it happen every day.
You have to make your own piragua.
And Danielle, check that out. Gustavo put that up for us there. That comment. I wish Gustavo was more. I feel like he's not paying attention, bro. He's more focused on asking.
Okay. They're also using games in senior homes for muscle memory exercises.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
No, absolutely. I think, one of the things that people don't also realize is that one of the fastest growing demographics of video game players are 50 plus. And really just take a step back.
Wow.
You got all these baby boomers.
Exactly, because remember, 79, 80 was when like all this video stuff. So at that time of 79, I was 9 years old. I'm gonna be 50 this year. I grew up with the Atari 2600s, with the Commodores, with the Nintendo.
How the fuck are you 50? Like, dude,
Yeah.
what?
I'll be 50 December 21st.
Oh my
You don't look it at all.
I'm waiting for my AARP card. I'm like, yo,
oh, it's
bitches.
coming, bro.
What
It's
in the-
freaking coming.
Dude, I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, I'm looking at like, wow, you got good genes, man. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Dude.
Puerto
just-
Rican don't crack either.
I know.
Bro. I'm 64.
Hmm.
What?
And he looks like he's 72, not a day older.
Cabron.
He's like a modern day Edward James almost. He is
Yeah.
like, that is what you literally are going to transition to that. Like you're the guy. You're
He
taking
got
that
you, bro.
mantle. You got that is you. Like next thing you're going to do your version of Stand and Deliver. I can already see it. It's like I'm
here.
feeling
that.
It's coming, Papi. It's coming to a video game near you.
Man, because honestly, like, you know what? When's the last time you actually saw something that made you feel happy and inspired you?
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest with you. Like every time I turn on the news, I'm like, okay, let me turn that shit off. You know, so it's like,
Oh, brother, I stopped watching the news. I absolutely stopped watching. ¿Pa qué?
yeah, exactly.
You know, I turned it on for 5 minutes. Okay, eso pasó.
Yeah,
So I gotta ask you a question, bro.
Yeah, what's up?
So do you remember your first fight?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, tell us about it.
I do. Well, I mean, I'm a twin, so my brother and I used to beat the shit out of each other all the time. So let me just so if I go to my first one, it was no doubt my brother and I kicking the shit out of each other. But if we're talking about someone that was not, not related to me or, family, then basically it would have been in 7th grade. I was 13 and I was coming into a bus stop. So we had basically, we had moved to another city and my mom had basically kept us in the same school, but we would have to commute roughly 30 minutes by bus to get there. So we'd have to get up early, 6 a.m., get on the bus to get to school by 8, and then basically come back with that. And one day my brother and I are sitting at the bus stop, and I grew up in Utah. So this is hillbilly. It can't get any more gringo than this. It can't get any more blanquito than this. It can't get any more than like straight up like, I mean, if you guys ever saw Footloose, that was filmed like 10 minutes from where I grew up. Literally.
Were you guys still not allowed to dance at that time?
No,
no.
We're Catholic, so we're drinking every Sunday. So but we're surrounded by Mormons, and so I remember this very well because basically there was this crew of jocks that used to run around, and they had this one kid with them that basically he's like he was the only African American in the community, like literally the only one. And basically, they would just treat him like shit. And basically, one day at the bus stop, I told him, like, why are you guys giving him such a hard time? And the little leader punk ass of the group basically stepped up. So I stepped up and then we got into a fight. And it was just basically like, here you go. And I mean, I grew up in Utah. So let me just be very straight up. It's like Utah. It's like, there ain't shit there. It's like, at least, well, there is now. But before then, it was like a real river runs through it type of thing. Like, like there was like cows and horses and jackasses that were people.
And guys with 10 wives.
Yeah, actually, that's actually true. A friend of mine, his dad was a polygamist. That was
really?
Oh yeah, really. The day we found out, it's like I'll never forget it. We're like, why is the house so big? And why is everyone mom? And at that moment in time, you're like, oh shit. It's like then you realize what's going on. I mean, it was not technically not legal, but ain't like anyone was going to turn him into the local sheriff's department, So I mean,
I'm curious to know, was it a happy family?
I always ask this question, like on the outside, maybe, but the thing is, I look at it like I don't know anyone, man or woman, that could have 10 of the same thing and be like happy. Relationships are hard. Why would you make it that much more like 10
more
times
complicated? Yeah, exactly. Let me just intensify this shit.
Yeah, I know. Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm fighting. It's like, what kind of bullshit?
Yeah, exactly. Because I need to be arguing with wife number 2, sister wife number 3, sister wife this one. Remember that show? What was it? Big House? There was a show on HBO that.
Big Love.
Big Love.
Right.
Big Love.
And the thing is that was real. And the thing is, like, I know that. Obviously it's kind of gone hush hush now after all these exposés happen, but people do weird shit, man. I mean, just, it's what can I say?
Guys, you can't remember. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh my God. So I want to ask you, brother.
Yeah.
So because I asked a lot of the same questions, but what has been your biggest life lesson?
That you don't give up. And this is the life lesson that came from my grandma. You know, my grandma she had 17 kids, 13 survived, right? And that lady came to the United States when she was 49 years old, and she busted her ass like nonstop. And she used to tell me these things from you have to have good PR to basically you're going to work and that's how it's going to be. And so when she passed away, looking at that life and looking at what it took to come to the United States and to grind, and we all know, we all know people that basically are first generation here, how hard it is. That was a life lesson. So anytime that I got to a point where I was like llorando, being like, oh, life is so hard. Oh my God, it's unfair. I just would remember her and be like, you know what? I speak. I went to school. I'm not in the jungle. Ortega is not the president, at least not yet. Wouldn't know until
Mhm.
later. And basically, here I am. And that kept me going because, in the end of the day, you can't give up. But again, you don't know that unless you've seen that. And that's one of those things that I was able to get. I was able to have that inspiration for me, and I learned from that every day. So that's really where it comes from. And everything else has been like, you burn your hand, you fix it, but you got to be accountable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You got any questions for me?
Fucking A, dude. Yeah, I mean,
What?
I don't know if it's appropriate for.
Dale, papi, dale. Atrévete,
Now I'm curious.
I mean, yeah.
How many times are you gonna be able to ask Louis any
Yeah,
question?
actually, that's a good that's a good question, man. Like, I just got to ask you. It's like, why, like, acting, dude? Like, of all the things, like, you're just like, fuck, I'm gonna be an actor. That's it, or like, how was it for you?
No, brother. I was actually a social worker in New York City, and I was very passionate about that. And one day, a couple of kids didn't show up to my program. I ran into Miguel Piñero. I hadn't seen him in a few years. He was a good friend of mine on the Lower East Side of New York City, and he told me, "Hey, man, I'm writing for a TV show. They're coming to New York. They might be looking for some people." So he gave me a phone number. I went in an audition. 3 weeks later, I'm co-starring on the season premiere of Miami Vice. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. All I wanted to get out of it was enough money to buy me a used car
Yeah.
so I can drive to Orchard Beach on the weekends. And, I didn't really commit to acting for like 6, 7 years after I had gotten into it because it was nothing more to me than a hobby.
Yeah.
It was a way of me being able to subsidize my salary as a social worker.
Yeah.
And so, once I got burnt out being a social worker and I took that leap of faith and, I made acting 100% my career. But, for me, I never forgot where I came from.
Yeah.
I always go back to the neighborhood. I do a lot of, speaking engagements with young people, teenagers, you know. But I've been very, very much blessed. I I've worked with everybody. But I got to tell you, brother, when I first started out in the business, I was very self conscious of like how many Latinos were working on the set,
Yeah.
and they were always the guys with the black garbage bags refilling. And that's like I was like, shit, we could do better. We can do better. So I'm a huge advocate, and we are a very talented community.
Yeah.
Writing. I mean, my God, we got some of the best music in the world right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but I think the problem with Hollywood is the people that control it.
Yeah.
And the people that make the decisions in those rooms.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that they're bad people, you know, but I'm saying is that the opportunity is not given to us to say, I want to green light this,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I want to mold it like this.
Hmm.
There's somebody else that's telling us that doesn't understand us, our culture. What they understand is numbers and statistics,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and the thing is that's that unconscious bias. I think that's the word they're calling now for everything else. But the unconscious bias basically says, "I know what I know," or in Holland, the Dutch have a saying that says, "What the farmer doesn't know, he doesn't eat." So
Hmm.
if you don't know it, why would you do it? At the same time, when
Exactly.
you know number and statistics, though, and you just look at the census, and you look and you say, oh wow, there's 70 million Latinos here, 70 million are born, they're here. That's a massive market, and that it costs no one nothing to put one of them in the room who I hope earned it.
Right.
Okay, let's do this, because you know what? Now I got 70 more million people to sell the shit out of. To be sarcastic.
Yeah. Well, you want to know something, and a lot of people don't know this, but there are a lot of pension funds that are Latinos, Latinos that are in unions.
Yeah.
Whether they're in janitors union, nurses union, teachers union, and a lot of those pension funds are invested in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that big bucks coming from the Latino community. And so I think there are some people within that fund structure that are Latino that are now telling these guys, yo, you guys got to step it up.
Yeah, they do.
We need a Marvel superhero lead who is Latino. And Caspar was not thinking about you when I said that.
No, I know you were thinking about me. You want to say on the show that you weren't, but that's okay, bro. We'll talk afterwards.
You know, so
you saw the Spider-Man, the Ultraverse, the one that came out with Sony cartoon.
Yeah.
Miles. When
Miles
I
Morales.
realized, when I realized that, then when his mom started speaking Spanish, I started crying on the plane. Like
It was awesome.
It was
awesome.
Very cool.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I was also on the plane, so I mean, I'm 40,000 feet in the air where I cry about every fucking thing.
Well, listen, I'm glad that we're talking about comic books and Latino, because I want to bring up Ralph Enriquez. He's backstage right now. Gustavo, can you bring on Ralph? Ralph's a good friend of mine, and he's actually created and is working on a superhero character, Fuerza. Tell us a little about that, Ralph.
So, hi everybody, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hi.
It's a pleasure meeting you all. So, Caspar and I, we've known each other for years, back in the day of Parkchester and all that good stuff. And he and I became good friends, and we went to Comic-Con that year. Remember that year?
Oh yeah, I took my brother, and we got to meet all the captains of Star Trek. You know,
well, you did, not me.
Me and my brother.
Royalty over here, you know. But anyways, so Caspar and I, we had talk, and then he said, "Well, guys, what do you do?" So I've been creating a Latina superheroine called Fuerza. So if you want to it's like, what does she look like? Think of like a kind of a Captain Marvel type, but not in that sense. And there's also a female version, a spy, a genetically enhanced spy. Her name is Agent Garcia. And I have two comic books. One, Fuerza, is the main title, and the other one's called Rage in the Shadow, which has the character Agent Garcia. And for years now, I've been creating these things because, like you guys have been talking about, we have to create our own content because no one's knocking on our door to say, hey, what do you have for us?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And let me tell you, last week I saw the show and made Chadwick Boseman rest in peace. But I was also talking to Caspar about when the Black Panther came out, I was so happy and I was so proud. Now, yes, I'm Latino, but it was like I enjoyed, the African Americans enjoyed the moment of having a superhero on screen. So I was like, okay, this is fantastic, and I want to see more of this. When is the Latinos going to have their Black Panther moment?
Yeah, totally.
Well, I think that's something that we actually have to create. Because Hollywood's not going to create it for us. We have to create it for ourselves.
Well, we have the ideas, we have the concepts. There's on paper, it's copyrighted and all that stuff. But how are we bringing it to the masses? Who's actually putting up the money, to create these things?
How much money you need?
If I were to give you a dollar figure, I would probably tell you, if it's a live action film, 10 million, only for the sole reason. Remember that movie Skyline?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you remember Skyline, right?
I do.
That was made 10 million, and the effects were beautiful, absolutely stunning. And now that we have the technology for Unreal Engine, Unreal Engine 5 coming up now. you know, what you have the power at your fingertips, and you don't have to spend that kind of Marvel money of 200 million. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay.
To tell that story.
Okay, so I'm gonna work on getting that $10 million.
Go
And
for it.
I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not.
All right.
You know,
We have
because like I said, you know, we Latinos, we love entertainment. We love being entertained. But like you guys say, you know, look, for me, I don't know if you guys ever seen the play In the Heights.
Yeah. Oh,
I want to see it.
But when I saw it 4 times.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, at the end, I cried.
Yeah.
I cried because I was so happy that I finally got to see on Broadway something that I grew up with that related to me, to my upbringing, to my family, to my friends, and it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, I mean, you know what? Because of In the Heights, the world knows what a freaking piragua is.
Exactly.
They did a song.
I know.
Piragua. You know?
I forgot about that.
It's amazing, man.
You know, so I'm, you know, all of us here right now, I'm all about that. I will always be all about that, you know. So
well, you know, you think about that show La Reina del Sur, that cost 10 million to make. And that was that's effectively what that was, to put that together. And in the end, you know, you don't even have to do live action locations. You're doing everything in a set. You're doing everything in real time. So you're not, yes, 10 million is not $2, but
Right.
10 million is also not 100 million.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a scale thing that you can do. And I think ultimately in the end, you link this up with basically artists that have and want something to prove. So from a standpoint of visual effects, there's enough visual effects companies, like Latin visual effects companies from the US all the way down to Argentina, that I think would have no problem being a part of something like this. Because in the end of the day, they're looking for something that they can be a part of as well. And I think that's where you just got to basically, you just hustle it, man. And I think this is also something where, you know what is available in the market in terms of capital, it is there. There's more money than there are good ideas. That's just the reality. And money doesn't make the idea. Money is looking to help accelerate the idea. And I think that's the one thing that we also have to remember too. The relationship with money that people have,
Right.
It's scarce because we don't have it, but the reality is it's not that it's not achievable. It's sitting there.
Well, we'll get you on board then, and maybe even do a video game.
I mean, you know, I'm all
There you
I'm
go.
all about helping people. I mean, listen, here's the thing, man. It's like, I think really all that comes down to is just basically planning and pushing your ass forward, and that's what you do.
But you know what the biggest thing that I at least in my experience, what I've noticed is, okay, we have the ideas. Maybe you might get some funding to create the idea. It's also getting through the door. You know what I'm saying? You can't just say, "Hey, here I am."
No.
You know.
no, but don't worry about the door, because
We're here.
we're not about going through the door. We're about buying the building.
Yeah, exactly.
And creating a door for
We're
all.
gonna buy the building.
Exactly. And the land and the construction company.
I'll take it.
And the permits, because you know what? Why not?
Exactly.
That's what it is.
We're not asking for permission.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're not asking for permission.
And you know what? We never had to. But you know
No.
what? Someone convinced
But
us
we
to.
always felt that way. We always
Exactly.
felt that way.
And
We
you know
always
what?
felt like casa ajena. Vamos a hacer cuando te inviten a comer, no coma. Fuck that shit. I'm hungry.
Exactly.
Well-
That's that Latino mentality, like
Yeah,
to be
you-
polite and to wait your
that's-
turn. And no.
You
Not
have to-
anymore.
That's what I want everyone on this panel right now to be part of it. How about that?
I mean, I think
We're here. Gustavo,
even Gustavo.
No, Gustavo, we don't hear you. We don't hear you. There's no audio. There's no audio. You
You're
came in,
muted.
it's,
Order Gustavo.
That's how we get rid of Gustavo. We say, "Yo, there's no audio. There's no audio."
just leave. No. But yeah, no, Ralph, listen, thank you for being with us. I'm gonna go ahead and bring over Hector, because I want to see Alexander's brother. Thank you so much for being with us, Ralph. Ralph is a great friend. He's gonna be tuning in with us all the time. And Hector, what is
How are you guys? Can you hear me? I don't know. My mic, I've had technical difficulties. This computer doesn't work. So, but good morning. I hope you guys are all doing well.
Papa, you're in Japan and the computer don't work.
I mean,
What?
I usually have a joke about this, but because it's broadcast, I don't think I should say it. No, it's yeah. I've had better computers. Let me put it that way. But yeah, no, everything's good here, man. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's hot as fuck. It's humid. Everything's going well. It's really humid, man. It's
May I
pretty
ask
bad.
you
So.
how is dealing with COVID in Japan?
You know, this is actually something that I got to be very honest about. It's like in Japan and just like through all of Asia, wearing a mask is very common out of respect for other people when you're sick. And literally, there are times where, you just wear it because you want to have some kind of moisture. So it was not like this craziness that we're seeing, at least on the news in America, of people feeling like social liberty, has been taken away because you've got to wear a mask and have some kind of respect for the person that's near you. So it wasn't odd. I was in China actually in December, and then again in January, like the week of Chinese New Year. And we had been following the news, and so we knew something was going on because it was coming out on the news here in Japan. When I was going over there, my wife's like, please just wear a mask. And usually I would wear it just to travel there anyways because the pollution can be quite intense. And so, I wore it the whole time. And then the next week I go to Korea and the news just starts increasing. And I remember traveling to Vegas, and I'm the only one literally in the airport in February flying in through LAX. I thought they look at me like patient zero. People are like, what the hell's with this motherfucker? Like literally, because, it's kind of shocking. You see someone with a medical mask. I mean, think back just 6 months ago. It's like, what is going on here?
Right.
You got something going on. It was crazy. So I'm walking through with my mask on. I remember thinking to myself, don't worry, don't look at anybody. You're healthy. Let them stare at you. You're the one who's safe. You're going to be okay. It went from LA literally to Vegas. Went through the airport wearing it the entire time. I thought I wasn't even going to be let into the country because the customs people were going to be like, take your mask off. Let's see who you are. But everyone here wears a mask. So we've been able to manage it and deal with it pretty well. I don't, it could always be better. We don't want people to die, but I think overall it's been pretty safe. Of course, I'm nervous. I don't want to go outside and get sick and get my kids sick or be one of these people who are asymptomatic and then get everyone else sick. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to be like, oh, well, I'm fine. I just got a little cough, but everyone else died. So overall, it's been good. I guess I should say it's been positive, more so than what we're seeing on the news in America. So
good to know.
What do you do? What do you do out there for PlayStation?
So I do business development. I manage the Japan Asia portfolio. I go around with my team looking for content to bring to PlayStation, primarily just here in Asia. So we go to Southeast Asia, to China, Korea, to India, just throughout this area, looking for video games to bring to the rest of the world.
Very cool. Are you working from home right now?
Yeah. This is my house. That's why I had technical difficulties trying to throw like a blanket on. It's like my morning. What time is it? It's 9:31 a.m. So my kid was running back here. He's like, "Give me some cereal." I'm like, "I'm on the phone." Go downstairs.
Make
your own food. You know what I mean? I'm sure as my mom watches this, just having like, "Oh my god, what's up?"
And she is watching. She just sent me a message saying she sees us both. So
that's cool.
I know,
Mom. Yeah, you did a great job raising these two.
Oh man, thank you.
Well, I don't really know you guys. I'm just saying it based on this conversation. Who knows what you do before?
Hey, listen. Hey, we're family here. The people we bring in our circle, the energy we bring in our circle is good people.
I believe it.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when you two brothers started taking computers apart, who was the technician? Who was the technician, and who was the mechanic?
I would say I would say my brother basically led the way a lot of the time and being able to go and find information, just being able to go out there. I think I learned a lot by watching and seeing what was going on. But that was also the thing with video games in the 80s. A lot of times it was like one player and then it could become two players. So that was really you would kind of have to take turns essentially going through, and then of course when they were able to do multiplayer, we were all playing together. But no, it's I think it's been something where different parts of life, one leads, one follows. You kind of take turns doing stuff, but you do learn from each other. I see it with my own kids. Like my youngest son learned so much faster than my oldest one did. He's like a 1-year-old, and I feel like, God, you're more advanced than your 5-year-old brother. How is that even possible? Like he's just having the influence of a sibling.
All kinds of stuff.
He's getting information, so
Yep.
yeah, really.
Are they speaking Japanese?
Yeah, my wife is half Japanese, half English. She grew up here, so she speaks to the kid in Japanese. I speak to him a little bit in Spanish, and then he has this weird form of English that he's developed. So, he's fitting right in. He's kind of somewhere 3 languages at the same time.
Una sopa de lenguaje. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He doesn't even care. He's just trying to do the best he can.
Papi, I want a canepa sushi.
No, it's true though. Like when I fly into Korea sometimes, there's this place that I like to go called Takoria, and it's literally like Korean and Mexicano fusion like together. It's so fucking good. And so there's a lot of that's going on, not just in Korea but also here in Japan. Like they're starting to mix a lot of the foods together to give you different kind of flavors. It's awesome. It's really good. So it's like I'm hoping more of that happens, right? So we just share our culture through food and obviously speaking with each other.
Yeah, they have that in New York too, but it's the Asian cooks giving you fried rice and fried chicken.
yeah. What's that guy's name? He's got Ugly Delicious. What's that guy's there's a cook. What is this guy's name? David Chang, I think is what his name is. I think he's got like a bunch of restaurants where he does this stuff. Where it's all kind of fusion stuff. Anyways, I can't even remember his name.
Mexican food, Cuban Chinese cuisine.
Yeah.
Hay mucho chino cubano and that we used to get a lot of that up in the Bronx. But were you guys aren't making like pupusa and something Japanese, mixing it up?
I mean they should though. That's a good idea. I like the idea of something. Pupusa algo. It's like that sounds actually good. Yeah.
So let me ask you, Hector. So when you first got there and they start speaking in their language, Japanese, of course, you bust out speaking in Spanish, try to mess them up like that?
Well, it's kind of crazy. I think for a lot Japanese people, like obviously they can sit there and they can look everyone who's not Japanese as just being foreign, right? Everyone's gaijin, just a foreigner who is outside of there. But the reality is that I think that the more and more the cultures have just been integrating. There's an immigrant population that's growing around here for sure. So I think they're becoming more used to different kinds of people from all over the world. And Japonese, like that phonetically is very similar to Spanish in the way that you actually pronounce things. So
give me some examples.
Interesting. Well, it's like the same thing like A-E-I-O-U, like the actual phonetic, like the actual pronunciation. It's like here's a basic one. Pan is pan. Pan is bread. Pan is bread in both languages.
Get out! For real?
For real.
Oh,
for real. So there's a lot of.
I'm gonna survive when I go to Japan.
I'll tell you, you find yourself a little salsa club, which they have quite a bit here, and a couple of and they like to dance.
Right.
You go out there and have a good time. You'll do well, Luis. You can come out here and enjoy yourself.
That's funny because my boy David Mars right here on the comments is saying that Japanese people love dancing salsa music. Of
they
course
love it.
Orquesta de la Luz, salsa y control, salsa y control.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But they want to feel the heat, so I mean, that's how it goes.
In Osaka, there is actually a huge Japanese Chicano community. So, this is amazing. But basically, there's a place called La Puerta in Osaka. There's a guy who's obsessed with Chicano culture. He comes to South Central. He goes to the East Side. He buys all of the, from the clothing to the rags, the do-rags, and then he brings it back to Japan, and they get all choloed out. Like they have cholos y cholas, they have lowriders. It's a huge thing.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Very
dope.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like, wow, man.
But that's really like Japanese, right? To get to the essence of something, they're so about craftsmanship and being able to understand why something like at the spiritual level makes sense, you can go find anything here, whether it's hip hop music or it's like chocolate or just any subject. There is someone who is like an ultra fan who gets it and they respect it for what it is. And that's a really, it's kind of, it's weird to say, but it's quite beautiful to see people appreciating something at the craftsman level. You really can get a sense that it's real for them. It's not just kind of like a trend. So I actually enjoy that quite a bit.
So let me ask you, so how many times did you guys as brothers like would say, okay, Papa, step back, I got this guy?
You mean like getting into a fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think most of the time, if we weren't beating the shit out of each other, it was basically like,
which he said that earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, did he really? No, it's actually, I think that a lot of times because there's two of us and because we're, it's a lot of energy at one time, that it didn't seem like there was a lot of problems. But if we got into it, we get in it together, right? Because we're brothers. So it's just, let's go. Let's throw down. Let's just get into it. So,
can I ask a question, guys?
Oh no!
I have opinions, right? But they can't really form full sentences yet. And I was wondering, so if one of you gets a paper cut, does the other one feel it?
You're talking about the hypersense thing.
Yeah.
So, like,
does that happen sometimes?
So here's the thing about that is that you have, I mean, there have been times in our lives where we've been separated, where something's happened and the other one knew something bad had gone down, and you get an overwhelming sense of feeling. It's not a, I don't know how to call it, but I can tell if he's not feeling good, I can tell something's going on. And basically it's just, you just sense it. And it's just something that happens. And in terms of your twins not forming full sentences, it's actually quite normal. Twins develop a language and they only start talking when they want to talk, and especially because they're usually talking to each other. So you just got to get used to it. My mom tells my wife all the time, it's like they didn't start talking to me until they were 4. So
really,
yeah, we would entertain the shit out of each other, through
my mom still complains about it right now. Yeah. Like when we get in the room for Thanksgiving, like we'll sit there and we're having like, she'll say, stop talking to each other, because we're literally like, we get what's going on. And so we're like, you know what I mean? And we're having this thing and she's like, shut up. Like, it's weird. It's kind of like we understand what's going on without speaking. It's kind of weird.
Now that we have both of you here, give me a little background, you guys, because I know you guys said your mom's from Nicaragua, but you guys were born out in Nicaragua, ended up in Utah.
Born in Utah. So our mom's from Nicaragua, our dad's from El Salvador, and we grew up in Utah. So it's like, but we're pretty much, for a lot of people, like the lightest Latinos they ever knew. Because we didn't get
look at this crowd. Look at Jackie.
What I'm saying. I'm gonna tell you, the only person who ever knew I was Latino who guessed it was this black kid from Baltimore, who when I'm 18, he goes, "Oh, you're Puerto Rican." And I was like, "Oh my God, you think I'm Hispanic? Thank God." Because you know what? Like, I'm telling you, that never happened to me. This shit never happened in Utah. They're just looking like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Like, what are you?" Like, they didn't know. So it was like an honor right there. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna start crying right there. You never get identified, right? It's like people are like, what the hell is this mutt? And I mean, come on, my name's Alexander and my last name's Fernandez. It's like, really, it's like, it's got already broken in between, but it's identity though. You know what I mean? Culture and identity. You don't really become aware of it, especially if you don't grow up around it. Again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. So that's why New York is so cool.
Yep.
Yeah. When I was in one of my first tech jobs. Yeah. What's up?
No, go ahead, Papi.
No, I was just gonna say, like, when I used to work at Electronic Arts, EA, the guys that do all the EA Sports Days games way back in the day, and I was working for this. They called it the Graphics Training Council. So we would train other studios that were purchased by EA how to use 3D computer graphics software. Anyways, I was working there one night, and this Mexicana came by who was just cleaning everything. She took care of our office, and she'd come in, and we would always have a conversation. We'd be speaking Spanish, and I remember this time, one of my bosses, he overheard us speaking, and when she left, he kind of like sneaks over towards me, and he's like, who was that? And I'm like, oh, that's Maria. We're just having a conversation. He's like, what? But why? And I'm like, what do you mean why? Like I don't even understand what you mean by why, because because we relate. I understand because those jobs are exactly the same jobs my family have. What are you talking about? And it's something where I realized at that moment in time, and this is really something more about, I guess, just the idea of identity and technology and skin color, all that match together, is that it's so predefined who everyone is just by the way you look. No one ever thinks about the depth of anybody anymore. And I remember at that moment in time, this person, I think he just started to realize that I was more three-dimensional than maybe what he saw on the resume or who he was speaking to, because I didn't even think about it. This gal and I, we talked every day, and there would be times for people to overlook, because my job in the office is doing work, but she is basically taking care of the office, the facilities portion of it. And I think that was one of the first times that I ever really became super aware of just the kind of class difference between those who are working and dressed a certain way versus the people who are basically taking care of the office building. But to me, we were the same blood. I mean, she's my sangre as much as I am hers. So I didn't understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
So this was something that was very weird. And I don't know if that's a Silicon Valley thing or if that's just a human thing, but it was really irritating. And there's been many times like that, I think, in life, just generally speaking, because there are not a lot of Latino people in tech. There's certainly not a lot of Latinos in video games. It's like it's like miscast. It's just like we just consume. We never get to make. And I'm sure my brothers talked about this, but the power is in creating the content. It's being able to represent yourself so that other people feel inspired by that. And I hope that that's what happens through all the work that you guys do as well. So anyways, that's my soapbox.
Well, I just want to say that you two brothers on this show have been a total inspiration.
Well,
absolutely,
to myself, and I'm sure a lot of people that are checking in right now. So, I love what you guys are doing. Nothing but respect. This is my first time meeting you two brothers, and
won't be the last.
I am beautifully and intellectually stimulated and impressed. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having us on.
And honestly, I mean, come on, man. I mean, we were watching you when we were starting.
Yeah, good, man.
You got.
I know, absolutely.
That's extremely powerful, man. I mean, it's like, it's same thing to you, man, and even more so. I mean, you blaze a trail. I mean, honestly, it's like it takes courage to do anything, let alone stand up when basically, one of these things is not like the other. And basically, this is one of those things where for every one of you, and Luis as well. I mean, honestly, dude, it's like you just have to have people that show you that it's possible, and that is just like the ongoing theme, I think, for everything that we see, is that as long as you see it, then it can happen. And I think that's the amplification that honestly shows like what this show is, and the content that you guys are making, and just really just having a real conversation. Like, I know we're funny and everyone has a good time, but there's also the other side, which is like, shit, I need to pay my bills,
right,
for school. And that's the part right there where if we can get that right with people, then you change everything. It's like, I would love for everyone to basically not have to worry about, the 31st or the 1st. That would be it right there. Now, granted, I mean, it's a different world, but man, I tell you, it's possible, and it's just being inspired. And so I want to thank all of you and having us on here, and obviously Caspar, honestly reaching out and saying, hey, let's do this, because like, bro, you were the first one to ever basically tell our story, like when we were just fucking two pendejos. Living it out. I mean,
what do you mean were? What do you mean were?
I fucking cleaned up. I cleaned up.
Well, listen, I love that we're doing this. Absolutely. I mean, we're on this platform that we get to tell each other stories. We get to create awareness. And I really want people who are inspired. On the Facebook fan page, we're gonna put the vlog page again. So there were some people who were asking before about, hey, where's the vlog page? So we can get more. We need more Latino video game developers.
Yeah.
We need more Latinos involved in the video game industry at all capacities.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and my nephews are all huge gamers. My niece too, actually. And one of my nephews actually wants to create games and started doing it himself. So I'm definitely going to point him towards your vlog, because I think he'll get it. He'll get some use out of it.
please do. And if there's any questions out there, honestly, from the standpoint here, if there's anyone out there that is curious, on that page where the vlog is, you can ask questions and I answer them. So the thing is like this, like, you know what, you may not like what I have to say, but at least you get an honest answer.
That's right.
This is the key thing. Yeah. So you know what, you know, nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters, lovers.
We ain't gonna sugarcoat it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no shit.
Like it is, you know.
You know. Oh yeah, Papa, have you felt any earthquakes out there in Japan?
Holy shit, dude. Oh my God. Dude, I gotta be like, so I work on the 13th floor of this building. One day, 13? I'm not even fucking kidding you, dude. Like the building starts moving, and because they're built on like is it a stilt? It's some kind of a
springs. There's a spring that
springs,
goes like,
right?
See.
So I'm sitting here in the office, and I'm feeling this movement, and I look up, and I'm looking around, and all my colleagues are like, and I'm like, holy shit, it's an earthquake. It's an earthquake. And everyone's just like, just calm. They're like, oh, it's not that big. I'm like, are you kidding me? The building is moving. But they're just like, they're so used to it. And it happens so frequently. I don't say I'm not used to it. It still freaks me out. It happens almost every week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's like the building moves. You feel it. And there are moments where I can sit on a couch and I almost like freak myself out because I'm like, am I moving or is it the building moving? Because it's that frequent. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It's real, dude. It's real.
I was in a building once in LA when that happened on the top floor, and it did the same thing. It feels like you're on a waterbed, but you're supposed to be still. It's so disorienting. Yeah. It's scary. It's scary.
I was in Osaka visiting Hector. I went down and I went to go visit in the south, and there was a 6.5 earthquake that hit about 150 miles away. I was up on the 35th floor, and I had been drinking, so I'm like, oh, you know, maybe it's just me. I'm getting loose. I started going like this. I heard the glass start creaking. And I jump. That's the most sober I ever fucking got. I went sober like this. I jump, pick up the phone, start sending WhatsApp messages to my wife, like, I amo, te quiero, and all this shit. Like, I'm fucking crying on the phone. And I send shit to my staff, my team, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, you know, because
last will and testament.
That was it. And basically, you know, I wake up the next morning, and of course, my team is just like, you're such a bitch.
I know. He had a whole list. Pablo gets all the Smurf dolls, you know. Gustavo gets all the He-Man action figures.
It's all the Smurf dolls. Like I got the worst gift.
Exactly. All my VHS movies.
I know, exactly. You get my laser disc, man.
My laser disc. There you go.
What? By the way, the best version of Boogie Nights was on laser disc. Let you know right now. Fucking hands down, good. Brilliant box set. Was it right there? That's it. Just gonna say that. Leave it right there. I don't know where it is anymore.
But I mean, I want to. Have you guys come out to Asia? Have you guys been to Japan? Have any of you guys toured out through here, like traveling around to check it out?
I've never.
I did a stopover in Japan on my way to the Philippines.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Did you go have some balut in the Philippines? Have you seen them eat this egg, the half developed? I hope I'm saying it right.
Bro,
that kind of half developed.
They offered that. I offered that to me. And I'm like, nah, I can't do it.
Sure you weren't like curious
like
a little bit?
It's like the tequila worm.
Oh, hell no.
But what is that?
What is it?
It's basically like a half developed like fetus of a chicken, in an egg.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah,
no. And so it's all crunchy and
oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna vomit just listening.
My friend from Guatemala, he got married and his grandma was eating it, and I was like, she's like, do you want some of this? I'm like, nah, it's all good, bro. Like
I actually have a story about that. We went to the Asian market here one time, picked up some fish, and I see these giant eggs in the register. So I got a couple. We got home, we cracked them open, and there's these little ducks inside with the beaks and everything.
Oh my God.
We had 3 of them, so we had to bury them because the kids saw that too. It freaked them out.
It was the green market, wasn't it? You went to the green market?
No, it was an Asian market.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for real.
Yeah, no.
Have
you tried it?
No, man. I just can't even. I mean, although I've had some crazy ass shit out here in Japan, like being out here, I've just come to this idea that like I will just try it because sometimes things will surprise you at how good it is.
Oh yeah,
It's a weird story. Like I took my mother-in-law and my and my wife to go eat at this hotel over here. And sometimes like everything in Japan can be like very individual meals. Like everything is like a little nibble of many plates.
Right.
And so, we eat like 12 of these things, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm still hungry, man. And my wife said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll get you something." This woman comes in, she's got this box, and inside of it is like this giant. It looks like a Mario Brothers turnip, like it's just giant turnip bowl kind of thing. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, that looks good. And inside of it, there's this kind of like pink kind of matter, and then there's these white jelly beans on the top of it. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh man, it looks so good. And my wife, she's like, she's translating to me, like, as I'm like getting the box, all just sitting down, like, oh man, I'm going to grub on this. It looks so good. I'm going to be full. And as I'm like taking a scoop to put it into my mouth, my wife, I will not forget the words as I'm swallowing this. She's like, oh, and this is the crab brain with fish sperm. I sat there and I was like, what in the fuck is this? But I got to be honest with you, it was some of the best sperm I've ever had. So I really enjoyed it. So I was just really like, sorry,
that soundbite was living into me.
Yeah, exactly. That is like my joke of the year for this. No, but it was, to be honest with you, it was actually quite good. It's called shirako. Yeah, it was this, and the white jelly bean, it is actual sperm.
So sperm fish. And crab, you said?
The brain.
Crab brain.
How
big was the brain? Because you said it was big. It was
a bunch. Like, well, the turnip bowl was like huge, and then the brain, it was kind of like, it was quite a lot of crab brain that they'd scooped in there, but it was like the jelly bean looking things. Imagine like a jelly belly, just kind of
right.
It's like a different form of caviar.
Pretty much.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was actually quite good, but
they're like that, that
Enjoy.
chromosome sounds great.
We
we went to China and we're in there, and they, after being paraded around different parts of the city.
Oh my God, I remember this.
They sit down and basically they sit around tables, right? And they bring out the food. We're all starving, and the plate is it's a bowl with an upside down bowl on top, and it starts going like this. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, why is it moving? Oh, they're like, that's tiger fights snake. I'm like, what do you mean tiger? Like translation. And we open it up, and literally it's an insect, basically an ant attacking a wasp, and basically you eat that, and you're like what? I'm like, what is this? And it is like, that was the food. And so you're like, okay, let's try it, let's see what it is. It's not so bad, it's crunchy, but that wasn't the part that disgusted me. It was the part that then we went to go eat meat, and you're hungry, and they put a big serving tray, and you guys know, you've seen in Texas, right? The Texas bull and the horns.
Mm-hmm.
When they lifted it up, it's the entire head there, right? Eyeballs, it's all there, tongue, brain half cut, and it's like that, and it's, don't get me wrong, listen, it's a delicacy, because shit, who the hell can pay for a head of a fucking bull that you're gonna eat that?
But did they sazonar with adobo? Did they adobo?
It was, honestly, you know what? As long as you didn't look at the eye that was dripping out of the fucking socket,
it was tasty.
It was tasty as shit.
But here's the reality, guys. That's what we eat anyway.
Exactly.
We just
I know, but that I don't gotta see. That's the thing. We don't want to see it. But then you know what? You're like, oh, this tastes great. But when it was looking at me, and this was the worst. The woman that was with us gets the fucking spoon and she shoves it into the socket and then swallows it. And I'm like, I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, come on. It's like, you're like, come on. It's to tell you.
Did she really have to do that?
No, well, she did, because she wanted to shoot. She said to me that basically, I swear to God, like the translation was like, it's good and it's tasty. In my mind, it was like, I now have the power of the bull. That's what I understood. Like, I think some weird like shit, man. I tell you, that's what traveling around the world.
I'd be very careful if you guys ever invite me out to dinner.
Oh no! No.
Thanks for the heads up, Papi. Thanks for the heads up.
I'll be like,
but listen. I just want to take the time on behalf of Caspar and Jackie and Gustavo and myself to thank you two brothers. Thank you for being game changers out there in this world, in this industry that you guys are in. You have inspired many people today. Keep inspiring. We'll be back. We'll be hanging out with you guys again. You be safe out there in those shaky buildings. And yeah, man. And you know, like I tell everybody, till we can hug again. And again, you guys, thank you so much for your time. And I'm really proud of you guys. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Arigato.
Later, guys.
Arigato.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome.
They're very, very, very cool and very put together. Like,
yeah, let me tell you something. I met them, like he said, many years ago. I don't know. I don't even think it was 2005. It might have been around that time. But when my friend Jasmine had told me, hey, I'm going to Germany and I'm going to Amsterdam, I reached out to Hector and Alexander. We had met that time for the interview. We kept in contact. And they treated Jasmine like family. My friend called me and she was like, yo, your boys are mad cool. They gave me keys. They were like, yo, here, this is the house. There's about 10 of us that live here because they lived in a big old place. And they were like, come in and out as much as you want. Smoke out if you want. Hang out if you want. Do whatever you want. And I was like, yo, that's really cool. She went to Amsterdam.
Okay, thank you for that, Caspar.